One of the most common phrases said when it comes to video games or TV is, "I wish I could experience it for the first time again." And while I have yet to awaken to Whitesnake, I do have something that can work for certain Fire Emblem games, that being the Yune Randomizer. A simple randomizer that can modify ROMs of FE games, and edit things from as small as making all growth 0 for challenge runs, to let's make like the worst FE lord and put our faith in Yune. So first, we need to get a compatible ROM, which I will not provide as Nintendo assassins are everywhere, but if you do happen to have one of those on hand, make sure that for the Japanese exclusive games, you use a Japanese ROM and an English ROM for the game released overseas. Don't worry if you don't know Japanese, as there is an option to translate the ROM. Next, we need to pick our game. Currently, the randomizer is compatible with Genealogy, Binding, Blazing, Sacred Stones, and Path of Radiance. I'd imagine there won't be other games added to that roster, as these games don't really have much to randomize outside of classes, growths, and chess, and Thracia is hard enough as is. Randomizing this crap would probably make it even more impossible. 10 might be added, but I'd imagine 13, 14, and 15 just aren't modifiable. Once you get the ROM, we can begin setting things up. I'll show off Genealogy as there is a lot to modify and that can give a lot of great examples. Starting over here, we have the growths, bases, and holy blood. Growths can be anywhere from 0 to 85%, so while they cannot be 100, they can be pretty high. The three modes are Redistribute, Delta, and Absolute. To show this, I'll demonstrate with eriF. As you can see in this example, Redistribute does just that. Take the current growth and just swaps the values out. Alternatively, you can apply a variance which can result in something like this. See, the values have been modified, but since the total is the same, it's valid under these settings. Next is Delta, where a simple value can be either subtracted or added to a growth, like this. This setting has a random chance of either adding or subtracting the delta to the designated growth. Finally, we have True Random, which can result in growths like these. Whack. You can also set it so it prioritizes HP like in the actual games, and also make it so that whenever your strength magic gets generated, the higher number is attributed to the stat your class needs. For example, Ethlin gets a random strength of 19 and 4 magic, but is reclassed into a Wind Mage. This check makes it so the 4 is swapped to her strength and the 19 is swapped to her magic. All of this applies to bases as well. Next, Holy Blood. You can choose to fiddle with the growths, choose to randomize holy weapon bonuses, and choose the chance someone has of getting Holy Blood. To make sure everyone has a chance of being viable, I set it so there's a 50-50 chance of getting blood of some sort. You can also set it to if you'd like the blood to match someone's weapon or not. For example, Alec, who spawns as a mage, lucks out in getting Holy Blood. He can either always get a boost to his fire, lightning, or wind, or he can get a completely random blood, like Odd, which helps him not at all besides the growth it gives. Now we move on to the skills, assuming you turned on randomization. You can either retain the number of skills or go for the fun true randomizing mode. First, assign the chance of getting skills. I keep it at these values, personally. Next, you can assign how often the skill is given out, but I set it so everything has an equal chance, for funsies. Also, you may notice Pursuit not on here. Because of how important the skill is, they set it so the calculation goes, does unit have empty skill slots? If no, end calculation. If yes, perform calculation Pursuit. If succeeded, give unit Pursuit. Regardless of previous check, award unit skills equivalent to empty skill slots. I don't know why, considering Pursuit is not counted differently, so if you have one slot and win the Pursuit lottery, that means you only have Pursuit, but whatever. Next, we have classes and general stuff. Here you can choose who gets randomized, who doesn't, what happens to the kids, their blood, how the shop is managed, conversation rewards, and finally, enemies. Then we have the last few items, as we have how the game handles promotions, whether or not the enemies get buffed, and then we got the rings and English patch part. But this last item is, quite literally, a game changer. That's right. You can change whether or not Pursuit is needed for follow-ups. Whether or not you do, I personally like this, but I set it like this so units who do get Pursuit get an advantage, but those who don't aren't completely screwed over. Now we simply generate a phrase that acts as our seed and get right into it. Now we generate the seed, save the ROM as well as the changelog if you want, and load it up in your favorite load up the game on your official Nintendo systems, such as Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, or GameCube. Anyway, we boot the game up and chaos has begun, let's go! Yes, by the rules we set up earlier, all the enemies are now not normal. They're thieves, which means... Yikes. I'll speak in more detail in just a moment, but first, we gotta make more seeds for the other games. Done! Genealogy definitely has a lot more to change than the other ones available, but because of that, it can actually be much harder than the other ones when compared to randomized versus original. Many characters' viabilities depends entirely on what enemies randomize into, what skills they get, and what weapons are available to them, more so than the other games. As you saw, some enemies can spawn as thieves, which steal all your gold if they hit, which is rude. Additionally, enemies can randomize into merms and follow up against speed-screwed units, especially with the way my pursuit skill works. Some units only get skills like charge or renewal, making their non-inheritance viability shaky. However, then you get units like my Sigurd, and then things get way better. One thing I really like about this game randomized is that it makes you reconsider your pairings. For instance, some pairings still make great kids, like Seliph. However, some of my usual pairings don't work as well when randomized. Look at normal Adu. Great skill speed, Bargain and Salt act as nice support for their already great potential, but in this run, no skills, no chance at major holy blood, just a whole lot of nothing. You could say the great growths from the 3 blood types make up for this, but I don't. No skills means no children. Another one is my Edain Midir pairing. Normally, a fine enough pairing, but with the fact that they both only have Pursuit, is kind of whack for the 2nd gen, aka the only gen that matters. However, Jamk has Vantage and Charge, fine enough skills, but if he and Edain got together, her kids would have Vantage and Pursuit and Charge, being a force to be reckoned with on both player phase and enemy phase. But another option is pairing Azel, since he has Charm and Astra, which would be great with Pursuit. All in all, Genealogy Randomized has a lot more to think about than you'd expect, especially if you do multiple playthroughs and make unique choices. My advice, wait for Chapter 3 to marry people, and if push comes to shove, reload a save. Randomized blazing is kind of boring. All you can really do is randomize classes, growths, rewards, and yeah, while I'd not normally consider this to be much, this feature is absolutely amazing. Why watch as Hector and Matthew make their way out of the castle when Shaman Fiora and Lord Legault can do the same? Or why watch as Elibad and his dum-dums bum about with pirates when Urk the Pirate, Priscilla the Thief, Isadora the Wyvern Lord, and Heath the Soldier can make their debut? Now this is epic. Now, you're probably wondering what wacky shenanigans happened with Ike and the gang. Well, so do I, cause my computer can't finish the creation of the ROM. Whoops. But Molap, you said it worked with Sacred Stones. Where is it? Well, you see, I actually don't recommend using this specific randomizer for Sacred Stones. The one I do recommend is the same one Fargus used some time ago, but essentially, it's a Sacred Stones exclusive randomizer plus. Firstly, we have the basics, like setting the number we add or subtract to a character's growths, which means we only have access to variance, no redistribution or true random here, pour one out for my homies. We also have the stable weapon randomization, chests events randomization, the option to have playable monsters. Then we get on to some more interesting things, like choosing whether or not thieves or generics get randomized. I have no idea what generics are, but I do know what thieves are. Then we see the 3 coolest parts of this randomizer. Random music. That's right, you can randomize what music plays when. Have the death theme play over your sniper's turn, or have the healing song play in the arena. Pretty funny, not gonna lie. Casual mode. Yeah, whoever made this, made it so you can respawn at the start of the next chapter, which allows you to be a bit more chaotic in your strategies. Random skills. Now, for the smart, you may say, Malap, Sacred Stones didn't have skills. Yeah, and they didn't have casual mode either. These devs, these madmen, added skills into FE8. And not just the things you'd expect. There's skills like Vantage and Adept, sure, but there's also things you wouldn't expect, like the Fury or the Seal series of skills, and the Stance skills. Anyway, the amount of skills here is absolutely ridiculous, both copied from other games or new ones. Just some of the skills I've seen are Vantage Plus, OG Life and Death, Killing Machine, Staff Savant, Canto Plus, Black Magic, Capture, Voice of Peace, and Devil's Luck. on a troubadour. So, you may wonder why I play randomized Fire Emblem. Well, for two major reasons. One, it adds in some fun replay value for games I already know, giving me a new experience every time. Number two, it creates some very interesting stories. Something I personally do when playing these games is imagine the stories that come from it, or how characters change when something happens. Like, how would Cain handle being the only knight of Marths to survive the war? What would Ike's journey be like if he didn't have his sister by his side? Randomizing has a lot of potential for fun stories, like, it can completely change how something occurs. For instance, Chapter 3 of Sacred Stones. In the original game, Erica's bracelets get stolen by Colm, so she and her army, alongside Naimi, head to a bandit base they believe Colm will attack. In the randomized run, however, the wandering bard Erica encounters a part girl, part monster who wants revenge on the dark mages that changed her, so Erica and co go forth and attack them, encountering Colm, the girl's childhood friend that was attempting to solo the dark mages. This kind of crap is so darn cool. I love stories like this. So, thanks, randomized runs. Also, it makes Blazing a good game.